Some players light up the game with goals, others with glory, but there's a rare few that light it up with imagination. They see football not as structure, but as expression, poetry written with touches and flicks. Now that was Guti, a player so outrageously gifted that even legends beside him sometimes just stopped and stared. Zidane once said Guti could do things with the ball that nobody else even thought of. And yet somehow, he became a forgotten man.
El golazo, pero sobre todo el pase de Guti.
This legendary player was born Jose Maria Gutierrez Hernandez in an area just outside of Madrid in 1976. Like most kids in Spain, he grew up idolizing the white colors of Real Madrid. But even as a child, Guti wasn't like the others. He wasn't obsessed with scoring goals or even being the captain of his side. He was obsessed with style and enjoying the game. At 10 years old, he joined the Real Madrid youth academy La Fabrica. And even amongst hundreds of talented kids, his talent was obvious. His touch, his vision, and his arrogance on the pitch is what made him so special at such a young age. He could see passes that nobody else could. He could stop time with just one feint. But what stood out most was his attitude. He was calm, he was elegant, and he was fearless. He didn't just play football. It was kind of like he was putting on a performance for everyone. And by 1995, Guti had broken into Real Madrid's first team. He was this young, blonde, and impossibly smooth player on the ball. But this was the Madrid of the 1990s. It was full of pressure, so many politics, and a lot of egos. At first, Guti was just a kid trying to find space amongst all the giants in the team. He played behind Raul and alongside Redondo and Hierro, learning the rhythm of the famous club. He wasn't a starter at the time, but every time he touched the ball, people noticed. The fans called him El Mago, which translates to the magician. He could literally turn a match with just one flick, one backheel, one absurdly creative idea that nobody else saw coming. But in Madrid, creativity was both a gift and a curse. Because by the late 90s, the Galactico era was officially coming. Florentino Perez took over the club and he had a dream to turn Real Madrid into a global brand. He wanted to bring in Figo, Zidane, Ronaldo, Beckham, and all of these were names that defined football itself. The biggest names in football that could sell jerseys, put on a show, and also take the club into the superstar era. Now, in the middle of all of that galaxy of superstars in the squad, there stood Guti, a homegrown, Spanish, and somehow overlooked player. And he didn't have R9's goals, but what he did have was something that none of them possessed: the ability to create something out of nothing. When you watch Guti play, it feels like you're watching jazz. It's all improvised, it's effortless, and it's unpredictable. He wasn't bound by patterns, he invented them. He could play as a number 10, a number 8, or even a number 6, or if you wanted, he could be a false 9. In all of those roles, he made others look better. When Raul was scoring, well, it was Guti that was feeding him. When Ronaldo needed service, Guti delivered it like a gift. And when Zidane wanted some rhythm, then Guti was the one who gave it. He was the silent architect of Madrid's most beautiful moments. But history remembers the finishers, not necessarily the dreamers. In 2000, when Real Madrid won the Champions League against Valencia, Guti was only 23 years old. He didn't start the final, but he played a vital role in getting them there. That season, he scored 14 goals, his best tally ever. He became the symbol of what Madrid's academy could produce. But when Figo arrived, and then later Zidane, his position, well, it vanished. The midfield was now filled with global icons. Guti became the eternal substitute, the player who you could bring on to change something, the impact player. He was too good to drop, but he was too risky to start because you had other superstars that needed game time. Yet, even in limited minutes, he produced moments that defied logic. The 2003 back heel assist to Zidane, that disguised pass to Ronaldo that broke 2 defensive lines in 1 touch, that audacious flick that drew applause from opponents. Guti didn't just create chances, he created magic. He once said, "Football is about making people feel something. If you play safe, then they feel nothing." And that was his truth. He refused to play it safe. But in Madrid, refusing safety comes with some consequences. He clashed with coaches, he skipped training, he partied too much, and he spoke his mind. To the club, he was unpredictable. To fans, he was irresistible. And maybe that contradiction is what kept him from greatness. He didn't want to be a system player. He wanted to be an artist. And during the early 2000s, Real Madrid's dressing room was a galaxy of egos. You had Zidane, you had Beckham, you had Figo, Ronaldo, and Raul. Every training session looked like a FIFA Ultimate Team lineup. But ask any of them, and they will tell you, the most technically gifted out of all of them? Well, it was Guti. Ronaldo once said you never knew what he was going to do, and neither did he. That unpredictability made him both a genius and also a liability. He could win you a game with 1 move, or he could frustrate you for 89 minutes waiting for that moment to arrive. Still, his best moments came not from dominance, but from expression. One of the most famous assists came in 2010 against Deportivo La Coruña. A Madrid counterattack. Guti threw on goal. The keeper comes out. Everyone expects a shot. Instead, Guti backheels the ball, blind, without even looking, and perfectly into Benzema's path. And it's a goal. The crowd gasped. Commentators called it madness. But that was just Guti. If you watched him play, then that was kind of the thing that he just always did. He was the kind of player that could deliver the madness that football just desperately needs sometimes. By then, he was in his 30s. He was older, he was wiser, but still he was that same artist. He wasn't a star anymore. He was the shadow that made stars shine even brighter. Whenever he came off the bench, the tempo immediately changed. Madrid suddenly looked alive. And the ball, it flowed with rhythm because Guti didn't play for himself. He played for the idea of football. The idea that beauty in this game actually matters. At the end, he won 5 La Liga titles, 3 Champions Leagues, and 2 international cups. Yet, you rarely see his name mentioned among all the legends of Real Madrid because he was surrounded by supernovas. His light was soft, not blinding. He wasn't on billboards, he wasn't marketing campaigns. He was just poetry hidden behind highlight reels. When Guti finally left Real Madrid in 2010 after 15 years at the club, there was no grand farewell, no world tour. He simply just said, "I gave everything I had to this club. The rest, I leave to time." He joined Besiktas in Turkey. It was a surprising move at the time, but it was also one that fit him perfectly. The fans adored his flair. He brought some magic to Istanbul, and he wasn't there to prove anything. He was just there to play the game. And after one final season, he quietly retired. There was no ceremony, no spotlight, just silence. Like the closing note of a song that only true fans of his game, true fans of Spanish football and of Real Madrid actually remember. So, why was Guti forgotten? Because football doesn't always reward elegance, it rewards efficiency. It awards the player who shows up with the amount of assists or the amount of goals. And Guti sometimes just wasn't that player. You couldn't measure his genius in goals or assists. You had to see it, you had to watch and just see what he does on the pitch. And if you blinked, you sometimes would actually miss it. He was just that magical of a player. He was the bridge between two worlds, the romantic game of the past and the industrial game of the future. And when that bridge disappeared, so did players like him. Guti's career will kind of always be about what ifs and whispers. What if he played in today's era? What if his creativity was celebrated? What if Real Madrid never brought in all of those players and instead just gave him complete freedom in the midfield? What if he was showing off like this during the social media era where people would have saw his highlights on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok? What if more people saw every touch, every moment of magic that he produced? Well, it's kind of hard to think that he wouldn't have been adored. He would have been adored. He would have been immortalized. But the problem is that he came too early. He was a magician that was born before the world had learned to love the magic of a player properly. And today, when you watch players like Modric, Ozil, De Bruyne, or even Isco, you see glimpses of Guti in all of them. The disguised passes, the no-look assist, the arrogance of imagination. He's football's secret ancestor, the man whose ideas outlived his fame. And maybe that's the purest kind of a legacy. Years later, when asked if he ever felt underappreciated, Guti just smiled and he said, I don't need people to remember me. I just need them to remember how they felt when I played. And that's the essence of Guti himself. He didn't chase history, he created moments that live long in our memories forever. Moments that remind us that football isn't just about winning, it's about wonder. So when you think of Real Madrid's Galacticos, the Zidanes, the Ronaldos, the Beckhams, remember the quiet magician behind the curtain. The man who didn't need headlines to change games, the man who made artistry look effortless, and the man for 15 years who just completely painted masterpieces in Madrid. And then he vanished into the gallery of forgotten geniuses. That man was Guti. So guys, what is your favorite Guti moment, and what do you think? Would Guti have done better if he came into this current era? Do you think that he should have been focused on during the Galacticos era, or do you think he should have moved away from Madrid? Let me know in the comments down below, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on those bell notifications so that you never miss another football video right here from the Footy Zone. And guys, I will catch you on the next one.